All right, everybody. It looks like it's about time to get started. For those who just got on, my name is Alex Phillips. I'm on the board of directors of WISPA, and we're going to be hosting this webinar for Link Technologies. I have Dennis Burgess and Jim Patient online. Dennis is going to present and give a demonstration of the tower coverage. I'd like to ask everybody if you have any questions to put it in the chat window so that Jim can get those questions answered online, and enjoy yourselves and ask lots of questions. I'm going to hand it over to you now, Dennis.
Thanks a lot, Alex. Welcome everybody to Lean Technologies TowerCoverage.com webinar. Our goal in this webinar is really to present the TowerCoverage.com site, some of its features, some of its abilities, things like that, so that you understand what the product is and what it actually does for you and your business. So what we're going to also ask Alex is, Alex, there should be a questions pane as well. Maybe you can take a look around in the GoToWebinar application there. That way they can type in their questions as well, because we definitely want to get those questions for everybody and answer any questions that you may have as we go through it. So if you don't have a questions pane, Alex, you may have to find that and enable that, but we'll get that going for you as well. If not, later on we can, of course, change it to where we can use audio or something like that a little later, and we'll definitely get your questions answered. So let's go ahead and get started. So the whole point of TowerCoverage.com is to allow you to create tower coverage maps for any of your towers around the world. Now, we have a worldwide data set. We take care of all the data. We take care of all the processing. We take care of everything. It's all fully integrated into a nice, easy web application. The example will be is we're actually going to use a tower that a couple towers that belong to one of our customers. We'll just leave it at that and go from there. So the very first thing we do is you're going to be able to log into TowerCoverage.com. Once you've logged in, and just so everybody knows, you can go ahead and create a free account by going to TowerCoverage.com, clicking Create a New Account, and you can go ahead and try that out. A little bit later on today, we should be posting on our Facebook page probably a special promo code that will allow you to basically open up every feature on the site free for 15 or 20 days so that you can try it out, again, free of charge. We want you to be able to use the service free of charge, make sure you know what it's about. That way you can continue on and you know how to use it from there. So what we're going to start with is the very beginning. This is, I have a new TowerCoverage.com account. What do? Well, the very first thing is we're going to go to New and create a site. So once you've created the account, now you have the option to create a new site. In this case, we're going to type and create a new site. So the very first thing you see here is we have options. We have a Google map that we can sit here and we can scroll around. If we wish to, we can move this pin, as you can see here. And actually, when we move the pin, our longitude and latitude goes in there. Let's say you know of an address. So I'm just going to type an address here. And you can go ahead, and if you have a tower address, things like that, you can go ahead, type that address in, and it will geolocate that for you. You can then zoom right in. So as you can see, I have zoomed right in, and here's Penthouse Road. We can also switch to our satellite view. If you don't know the exact GPS, I know for a fact that there's a tower off Penthouse Road. And as you see, as many of you are going to see anyway, I've zoomed in and actually can see my tower. And of course, I can put my pin right there. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. If you know your exact GPS, we can go ahead and type that exact GPS in. You can either use the DMS, degrees, minutes, seconds, or just your longitude, latitude. So I'll go ahead and put a longitude, latitude in here for a tower that I know of. So here we go. We have a tower. Notice our satellite view has showed our tower here. So we can go ahead and give it a name. We're going to call it Tower 1. And then we're also going to put a default height. In this case, we're 100 feet on this tower. So I'm going to create that new site. Once I've created that site, I can then go to New and create a coverage map for that site. Well, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use a standard omnidirectional antenna. This is a standard radio system that we would use. You, as a subscriber, can go up here to Radio System, and inside here create new radio systems. These would be the radio systems performance variables that you would normally use. So if you use Canopy, guess what? You'd put in your default canopy options that you would use most of the time. If you use Microtech, you can put that in there. Ubiquity, whatever the system is. For those of you that need to know which frequencies we operate on, we actually can operate on a wide variety of frequencies. And if you see a frequency, or if you use a frequency that is not listed here, please ask, because most likely we can go ahead and add that for you. So we have everything from the TV white space band, CDMA bands, your 900 megahertz unlicensed band, all the way up into your 2.3, 2.4, and 2.5 gigahertz, 365, 5.7, 6 gig, and we can even go up into some of your 11 gigahertz, 18 gigahertz licensed, and even up into the 24 gigahertz unlicensed bands. Again, if there is a specific frequency range that you need, maybe you have that license, etc., let us know. We can probably get that added. But once you go into this radio system here, we can build a typical radio system. You don't have to use this feature. This feature is just so that you can go ahead and quickly use the same radio system over and over. If I go to a new coverage, note that we have a lot of the same information. So let's go ahead and do this. I'll go ahead and create a typical radio, use one of our radio systems. I'm going to give it a new name, map name, Tower 1 map. And I'm going to select my tower site, in this case that one.tower that I created. When we create a new coverage, we have the ability to go ahead and modify our default antenna height. Note our default height that we typed into our coverage or our site properties has already been populated. But let's say you want to see what this coverage would be whenever you have only, let's say you only have 50 feet or 100 feet, or maybe you want to move it down a little bit so that you don't have to worry about the radio system. You want to see what 20 feet of difference would make effect on that tower. You can go ahead and type that tower height right in here, both in either meters or feet. Now we always convert it to meters for our system, but you can go ahead and type that in. So if I type 110 feet, 120 feet, note my antenna height in meters automatically converts. We're only using 100 feet, so that's what we'll leave it at. We have all of our transmitter site information, our system performance, and our receiving station. By default, again, you can go ahead and use a radio system that would keep common products or common radio systems information there. But what we're going to do is we're just going to say 2.4 gigahertz, we have a little 15 dB omni, no down tilt. Since it's an omnidirectional antenna, we're not going to specify a bearing or degrees. We're going to have our transmitter output. Again, we list this in dB. However, you can go ahead and put it in milliwatt if you need to, and it will go ahead and convert it for you. We also include anything, any line loss. So if you wish to include the calculations with line loss, you can do so at this time. The receiving station is the typical receiving station that you would have for any of your customers. In our area, in the 2.4 gig spectrum, we would typically have a 19 dB client, and in our area we typically are anywhere between 15 to 20 feet on average. Now what we put in here is we're going to do our calculations based on whatever the client average height is. So if I say 20 feet, then that'd be 6 meters. If I say 10 feet, it'd be your 3 meters. Again, the ideal here is what is average in your area. If in your area you have a lot of 2-story homes, then guess what? You can have a higher average height, and that'll help you in your calculation. You also can put in the client gain antenna that you wish to calculate with, as well as any line loss you wish to have. The system performance variables is very important because this gives us all the options that we need to know exactly what radio system we want. In our area, in the 2.4 gigahertz, we typically do not install anybody unless they have at least a neg 65 signal. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this to neg 70. The reason is we want to see signal strengths down to neg 70, but we're going to adjust our strong signal margin here. And as you notice, all these options, if you hover over them, give you all the descriptions and help fields that you may need. What the strong signal margin will do is it's going to take a strong color, in our case green, and it's going to take anything with a neg 65, which is that margin, negative 70 plus the margin, so neg 65, and show that as green. Anything that between neg 65 and neg 70, it'll show in the weak signal color. We also have other options such as maximum range, opacity, use our land cover, which we typically will always want to do because that shows us our trees, urban areas, that type of stuff. And we also have what we call a view shed. What the view shed does is it takes any of your tree data, your land cover, so your trees, your pine forest, things like that, and basically says if you're trying to go through those trees, if we see trees there, we're going to go ahead and say that we cannot go through those. Okay, this will give you more accurate coverage when we look at 5 gigahertz, because we are basically stating that if we think we're going to go through any types of trees or any type of obstacle, we're going to increase the loss in that so high that we're not going to be able to use it. So think of it as this is your line of sight. This is looking at it and you should be able to see it. So if we use the Create View Shed, that is both using RF as well as only what the tower can see, including our trees, etc., in urban areas. I'm not going to turn on View Shed now, so I'm just going to go ahead, hit Create Coverage. Notice it's going to come up and give us a rendering. And what we've done is we submitted that job to our rendering farm. So here is our tower map under our coverages. Notice it says processing. Typical average is 1 to 2 minutes, if that. Most other applications will typically take, in the same resolution that we're doing, will typically take between 30 and 45 minutes for the same resolution. We have a lot of performances, we have a lot of servers, we have a lot of processing farm in there to make sure that we can process this very, very quickly. Now, while this is processing, one question that usually comes up is about that land cover, the tree heights, things like that. If you go into your My Account, there is a land cover option here. And apparently the land cover is not working. Actually, they're working on the land cover. But inside the land cover, what we're going to have is we're going to have options to set your tree heights. So if you are in the northwest, okay, your tree heights might be 80 feet. If you're in the southeast, your tree heights might only be 50 feet. So you have the ability to go in there and set those as you need to. But if we go back to the home page here, we will have options, and hopefully our processing is still going on here. We also have the ability in here to create link path analysis. So another example of this is we can go ahead and hit New, and we can create a link. What this link would be is we would be able to sit there and say, hey, we want to go from our Dittmer Tower to, let's say, our Hillsborough Tower. And we can put in all of our transmitter information and also specify our frequency. So if you're using, let's say, air fibers and you want to see what the radio propagation would be, you can, of course, click on this and select 24 gigahertz, and that will show you those. Those renders usually take only a minute or two, if that. Usually a lot quicker than a minute or two, a couple seconds. But let me go down to an existing link just so we can take a look at one. Let's see here. I'm just going to pick one here. I like this one here. So this would be an example of one of those rendered link path analysis. Notice in our link path we have our tower, we have our location, we have also all the land cover between there. So notice we have green, dark green, light blue. Those are different types of land cover, and each one can have a different height and a different density. If you're going through pine forest, things like that, you can increase your density to say we don't wish to go through it. If we check that box that said land cover, or I'm sorry, a view shed, what would happen is if this line hit any of these trees, we would immediately have a huge amount of loss. In other words, we would not be able to see that. So coverage on the backside of these trees would not be shown. As you look through here in our properties, we have a lot of other information. We have, from this location, we need to aim our antenna 115.39 degrees, and we need to have 0.78 degrees of up tilt. So now, whenever your installers go out, they actually have an exact number. Here's the bearing, here is the tilt, the up tilt or down tilt that you need to aim towards to get the best signal possible. We also look at all of our radio information, and at the end come up with a received signal. So based on all of our radio information, we get this received signal value. Now I'll tell you what, this received signal, if you put in all your properties correctly, within a dB or two should be very, very accurate. And I'll tell you right now, this link I have up right now, it runs at a 58. So this link is extremely, extremely accurate as far as that information. But keep in mind, you have to put in all of your information whenever you build that link accurately. And we also get a map here showing that wireless link and where it goes to. So again, if that's in your new link, and again, I'm just going to show you your link, you have to make sure you put your transmitter power in, your antenna gain, any loss, receiving station, all that kind of information. All needs to be in there so that you have an accurate link path analysis. So if we go back here to our one tower map here, this would be the map that we just created that we put in a few minutes ago. We're going to go ahead and get that opened up if the webinar application opens up here. Give me a second. It's paused for some reason. Alex, by the way, did you find that questions pane at all?
Well, I checked.
Maybe not.
I checked another workstation, and it seemed to have a chat window.
Okay. Well, if not, we'll go ahead and we'll pause a little bit later on, and what we'll do is we'll open it up for questions via voice. That's definitely not a problem. So let's go back to this tower map. This was that tower map that we just created. Notice we have anything in the green area would be that neg 65 and stronger. Anything in the red area would be between neg 65 and neg 70. Now we have a number of other pieces of information right up here. What this is using U.S. Census data, since this is in the U.S. We actually show that this tower covers 5,200 people and has a coverage of right about 39.77 square miles. So you know exactly how many people in your coverage area is possible to cover, as well as how many square miles or square kilometers. Inside here we have a number of options, so we can go to our terrain view. Let's let that load up for everybody. There, it's coming for most people. So as you can see here, we have our terrain view. We also can look in at a satellite view as well, so you can change those views inside of your system. And the very last view is, of course, using Google Earth. Most people like to look at it via Google Earth because that gives us that 3D rendering, gives us the ability to see that, yes, we have a hill here, and we can see how our coverage is affected. So this would be a good example of, hey, we have an antenna up on the hill, and hey, we have a lot of terrain data. We have all that information. We can show why it does cover here and why it does not cover from this other location. Now, if we go back to our map view, we have a number of other features that we can do. And I'm actually going to go ahead and quickly put in another site. We're going to call it 2Tower. And go through this because I need a second tower. Because what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create what we call a multi-map. So let me go ahead. I'm going to put in the second tower. So there's our second tower. This one's 80 feet. And we're going to go ahead and create a coverage using the same radio system. So you're seeing how quickly, once you start doing this a couple times, you'll see how quickly you can do these coverages. So again, I'm going to use pretty much all my defaults already, 2.4 gigahertz, and I'm going to go ahead and create, and it'll start rendering. Because what we're going to do now is where all the fun stuff gets into. This is what we call our multi-maps. So here's a multi-map. While we let that render, here's a multi-map that we have here in St. Louis. What this multi-map is it takes several tower coverages, or a whole bunch of them, it doesn't matter, and it takes them and puts them all together into one big multi-map for you. And the goal of this is to show you your overall coverage area, your overall network area that you would cover. So here would be an example, and again it's loading up for everybody, it hasn't displayed here for everybody. Most people have it, but this would be a whole bunch of towers for you. Now, what can this do for you? Well, one of the big things here is we can go to our action and we can edit our multi-map. And in here, we have the ability to check boxes, which maps do we wish to show. But also, right down here at the bottom, we have and give you a piece of iframe code. This code is specifically designed so that you can take this code, you can hit the copy button, it'll copy it to your clipboard, and then allow you to go to your website and place a coverage map just like this on your website. So if I open up a customer's website, so here's one of our customers' websites, and they go to coverage map, notice they've immediately loaded up a web page that shows their coverage map in southern Missouri over in Springfield. And they can zoom in, zoom out, and this would be available for any one of your customers. It's on your web page. Now, I have had some other customers also, they don't want to give this information out. They don't want to show the coverage map on their website. What they do is they use that iframe code and they distribute that internally to their sales staff, things like that. One problem that most WISPs have whenever they're first starting or whenever they're growing anyway is the installers. They're going out and installing. They have a really good idea where coverages are and where coverage is not, but a salesperson does not. So they need some type of map. They need some type of ability to come in here and type an address and see if they're in a coverage area or not. So it is possible for you just to share that link with your staff if you wish to, versus having it on your website. But that is another option, is that you can put that on your website if you wish to as well. So let's go back here and see if our coverage was done. So here's our Tower 2 map, and we'll go ahead and load that up here. See if GoToWebinar will cooperate with us. And again, if you have any questions, if you have a chat window, go ahead and type it in there. If you do have a questions pane, go ahead and type it in there. I do not see my questions pane as of yet, but that's okay. If not, we will open this up here in a little bit for questions. We do want to answer any of those questions, so if we need to go ahead and open that up for everybody a little bit later on, we will do that, of course. So once we get to your overall coverage map, I think there it goes. For some reason, it was paused for a minute for me. Did not want to show me the, or did not want to update. There are other ways that we can use our multi-map, and other ways we can use our multi-map is another company we'll look at is our WISP here in Missouri. But what we're going to do is we're going to show you the way that you can use your multi-map to collect statistical data. And I apologize here. It looks like our audience is not being updated. Alex, are you getting updated on the screens?
It paused for a moment.
Okay. Yeah, there's a little bar on mine, and it's not saying it's updating, but as long as we think it's updating, then that's really all that matters. All right. Well, let's try this again. So we can come in here and hit a new multi-map. And the goal of our multi-map, again, is to get something like this, to get into this web page that we have a whole bunch of coverages all in one big map. And the other option with our coverage map is we can go to, let's say, our Wi-Fi Midwest site here, and we can get into our coverage map there. And the goal here is to go ahead and get that map. What's really nice about using our multi-map is whenever you click on that, you have the ability to add and remove maps as necessary. So let's just say this. Let's say you go ahead and you put the website or the multi-map on your website. So now you have that there, okay? The advantage of doing that is, let's say later on you want to come in here and you want to add 2 new towers, okay? All you have to do is add that tower to your multi-map. When your multi-map updates, your web page automatically updates. So it's very, very nice that you don't have to sit there and mess with anything. You don't have to sit there and do anything with the system, because in that particular case, you've already updated the map. You've updated your multi-map, so guess what? Your web page is automatically updated. All right. So we're going to go ahead and create this one multi-map. And we're going to go find those 2 maps, those 2 towers. Notice here we can search, so we're going to create that. And we're just going to create a new multi-map. And again, we have to render that. We have to take several maps and put them all together. Okay, so that's going to go ahead and process as well. Once you've created that multi-map, that's where all the really neat features are, because inside your multi-map, again, as I was showing you, we have the ability to put it on your website. Okay, you have the ability for end users to do that, or you can go ahead and have your customers create a form. So this is another feature of the multi-map. So as we went to Wi-Fi Midwest, this is actually the multi-map. So right here, this little box here that is all highlighted, this is part of our multi-map feature. And this feature is a feature set called data collection. So if I go back to our public coverage map in the Tower Coverage site here, what's going to happen is we're going to have the ability to show you that multi-map. So this multi-map has all of our data collection fields. So now customers come to your site and they have the ability to go ahead and fill out everything in there. Okay, so they have, let's go ahead and do so. So I'm just going to put something in here. There we go. So we have form field data. We have the ability there. And the end user can go ahead and click submit. Now what we do whenever that occurs is we immediately say, hey, we take the address that they had and we geocode that. So we take the address and we go, hey, we think we're here. We display this map, and now the customer, again, this is a customer on your website, can take this pin and move this pin to the exact area where they wish to have service. Maybe the geolocating is just a little bit off. Maybe they really want service right here or right here versus right here. Once they've moved that pin, they can say, yes, this is where my service location is. And then we show them your multi-map in a zoomed-in view. Hey, they're in the blue area. They're not in the green, so they're kind of iffy, but they don't have the best signal, but they should be able to get service. Now, in the back end, with our multi-map, what occurs is we create a wonderful email, and I'm going to have to go find one because I didn't pull it up right away. And I'm going to bring this over into my screen here, and I'm going to have to share it out for everybody. Give me a moment. So what's going to happen is within the next 2 or 3 minutes, an email is going to be generated to your email address. And that email is going to include all the information that customer has put in. Here we go. So not only are you going to get that information, you're also going to get path analysis. Just like we see in those links, you're going to get 6 path analysis to the 6 closest towers. That's automatically going to come to you within a few minutes of the end user going to your website and putting all that form data in. So as we see here, we have several different towers. We have 7 different locations. We say how far it is, all your bearings, all that information is all available to you so that you can make the educated decision, hey, should our sales rep give this customer a call and say, hey, let's get them scheduled for an installation. All that is included in the base in any of the premium packages. So it doesn't matter which one, which package you use. All that is included. All right. Now inside our multi-map, though, we have the ability to take a look at that. So we have all that customers. All these customers go to this Wi-Fi Midwest site. So if we go back to this site, we go back to Coverage Map. They have came to this web page and they have filled this information out. Okay, they have this information, they filled it out. So now what we need to do is we need to take that data and actually have some type of use for it. So again, if we go back to our Tower Coverage, we're looking at our map that is part of that, and we have the ability to click on collected data. And what we're doing is we're waiting for our page to come on, display. There it goes. Okay. So here's our multi-map. And remember, here, if we went back here, I think this didn't show. Here's our form that our customers filled out that we just went through. So the customers have filled that out. We go back to our multi-map display to where we see our coverage. There it is. It's loading up for everybody. And now we can hit this button called Collect Data. Inside the Collect Data, this shows us the GPS locations of everybody that's ever submitted on that website. So now, as you can see here, we can sit and take our map and zoom right in and find locations where we can get service and where we cannot. Maybe you'll find something like this right here, this little cluster. Let me see if I can circle this. This little cluster right here. Notice we have a whole cluster of customers right there. Originally, there was no customers there because we didn't have coverage. So one of the things that we did was we also gave you the ability to come in here and again, let me get out of the drawing mode. We can select an overlay. And in this case, we select American Towers. Now, American Towers loads up, and we have this wonderful overlay. Now we zoom way in here. And again, your screens aren't going as quickly as mine. I apologize. But as we zoom in, notice we have a little red dot right here. And we click on that, and we're going to get a tower number. This is a local tower that is available for us to get on. And whenever we got on that tower, we got all of this coverage. So here's a way for you to sit there and go, here is the FCC number of a tower. Now we can go in there, look up that ID, find out the height, etc. We can go ahead and get into our tower coverage system, put that tower in to see if it would even cover that community. And in our case it did. So guess what? We went ahead, got up on there. We had a whole bunch of customers that had already submitted forms, so all we had to do was go in there and give them a call, contact the customers, and get that information from them. So that is another way that you can use tower coverage so that you can plan which towers do you wish to use. The example being is you don't have to create a map that is only for your coverage. It can be for, hey, this is our future towers, or this is for our future expansion. So that way you can sit there and get that information and know exactly where you need to go. Okay, so you know this tower, maybe Tower A that you're looking at getting on, that one needs, that one gets you coverage in areas that you already have coverage, so it gives you additional capacity because now you have more APs in the existing area. But as you go further on, you may find another tower that covers new areas that you normally otherwise would not cover. So all of these are just options and feature sets that you can do. So as you can see here, here's those two towers that we created. Notice we have the multi-map, so now we have both of them on here. We also can come back in here, edit our multi-map. Here is our checkbox to turn on data collection. So if you use this iframe code here, okay, and put that on your website, by default you're going to get an image or a map similar to this one. By you then going to this page, checking this data collection option, and then updating the map, you're going to get the form option similar to this, or what should be being displayed now for you. So you can turn that on or off however you wish to, and you can create multiple multi-maps. So you can have one multi-map that includes the just the map, in other words, does not have the form, and then you can make another one that does have the form. You have an unlimited number of multi-maps. That's totally up to you. All right. We also have some other options here. We can go back to our account, and inside our account we have different options, such as we can change our language of our collected data. All right. We can go into our web data form. This shows us all those customers that have selected information or clicked and submitted information. We can get all their information. We can view where they're at. We can show them where they're at, all that kind of good stuff. So here is that one I just entered, okay? And if I hit view in here, I get all my information, and I even get those link path analysis that we did a few moments ago. That's all available usually within a few minutes, very, very quickly for you. So I'm sure we're going to probably have to get some questions here. We also have the demographics. One feature, this is an extra feature that we've added, and what the demographics is gives us the ability to take our state agency, in our case we're in Missouri, so allowing our state agency access to the information. This is part of the information for your state access, your state broadband mapping. So we can put that information into the system. We can also come down, select which sites we wish to have our state agencies. So I can come here to Ditmer. Yes, that tower site, I want the state agency to know where that is. I can set all my variables, frequencies, etc. on a per site basis. At the very bottom, I also have our multi-map. And the example would be our public coverage map I want to allow my state agency to have access to. And what that allows us to do is automatically the state agency, as long as they're participating in our program, free of charge, of course, can download your maps and automatically submit them to the NTIA. So we have all that built in automatically. You don't have to do anything extra other than basically come into the demographics section and actually allow that information. So with that said, what we probably want to do here is probably see if we can open it up to some questions, because unfortunately I don't think we're getting any questions, and I know there's some people that have some. So Alex, can you go ahead and open up audio for everybody, or can they put their hands up so you can let them in?
Let's see.
Oh, I hear somebody. Does anybody have any questions? I think there's an option to either put your hand up so that he can allow you.
Yeah, can you hear me, Dennis?
I can hear you. Who are we talking with?
This is Scott Wiggins, Applied Technology.
Hey, Scott. How's it going?
Good, thanks. Hey, I was wondering about the land cover you touched on earlier, and wondering if that can be set differently for each coverage.
The answer is, as of right now, what happens is if you set your land cover value in the My Account properties, when you go to land cover here, which apparently we need to, we've been working on that land cover, so they're probably okay, sorry about that. I got muted. No big deal. If you go into the land cover, what's going to happen is you can set those parameters. As of right this second, what would happen is if you did a render, so in other words, if you created a coverage map and you went to processing, it would use those settings. If you then changed your land cover and made a new map, then it would use the different land cover values. But the old map would stay at the old values until you updated that map. So the answer is, yes, there is kind of a roundabout way, but no, the land cover is not set on a per map basis as of yet. And to be perfectly honest with you, that's probably one of the very first times I've ever had that question asked, but I wouldn't see why that wouldn't be a possibility down the road. Anybody else have some questions? Alex, I think we need to, did we get everybody unmuted again?
Well, I think they can unmute themselves if they want to ask a question.
Yeah, so if you have a question, you probably have to hit the unmute button there. Oh, there we go. Any other questions? We definitely want to have as many questions as we can, because more questions, there's no such thing as a dumb question.
Dennis, this is Scott Wiggins again. I've got another one for you.
Shoot.
Regarding the multi-map, you know, we're always in, as probably most WISPs are, in flux of current coverage and building coverage. And I'm wondering if there's a way to create a multi-map that internal sales users can see current coverage and then ones that are coming soon.
Sure. You can create as many multi-maps as you wish to. So you could sit there and say, here's the upcoming maps, and you can either share them or not. That's up to you.
And so on the maps, it's like a new site that we're working on but isn't released yet for deployment, where we just change the colors of the coverages then on that particular map.
Well, what would happen is it would probably be two separate maps, because the whole point of the multi-map, one of the requirements for state agencies that we have to have certain colors.
Okay. So we have to have one map that is our current coverage and a separate map that is coverage that's coming.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
And I guess
or future plan coverage, maybe.
Yeah, I guess while I got you, then we heard recently that the CPUC is not pulling information from TowerCoverage.com. Are you guys pursuing that with them, working with them on getting them set up or anything?
Well, just like any other state agency, things like that, sometimes the state agency has to have a push from the end users, or in this case, you guys, to participate in something that's completely free to them. We have had some state agencies simply say, we're going to do our own thing and that's it. Now, upcoming, there has been several pieces of information. I don't know all the details, but I've heard that we are actually going to probably be working directly with the FCC and the NTIA, going completely around the state agencies, if they're even going to still be out there. I don't know if that's next year. I don't know when that is. My recommendation, as far as your state agencies go, is that you would go ahead and ask your state agency to participate in the program. It's free for them. There's no cost to it. It makes it easy for you and your other WISPs in your state. And just by giving that push, a lot of times, you know, somebody in the state going, hey, we have it here, we want to submit it to you, but you're not participating. Why don't you participate? It's free of charge. There's no cost to it. Then all of a sudden they realize that they kind of need to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Not a problem. Not a problem. Any other questions, queries, posers, other informational tidbits? And of course, if you guys do have questions, and if you don't have a mic or whatnot, my recommendation would be to go ahead and email. You can email support@towercoverage.com. That will get to us. Please do so that we can get that information. We definitely want to get the answers answered for you. I wish we had the chat and the question pane, but it is what it is, so we'll try to make do with what we got here. Any other questions, please go ahead and ask.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I typed a question, but you didn't answer the typed question, so are you reading the typed questions?
I do not see them. Hey, Alex, do you have any question pane or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. I'm just trying to figure out how to get it to you guys.
I think you might need to. I cannot answer the question on that. You want to go ahead and ask your question?
I just seen a bunch of questions just come up. It's like they all came up at once.
Okay. Well, I don't have them, so.
Okay, so let me repeat. So the first thing was, I noticed that your maps are really at the mercy of the quality of the Google Maps, correct? Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
I think you're muted there.
I am not. Hello. You there?
Yeah, did you hear the question?
I did not. I apologize.
Okay, so I said it appears that you are at the mercy of the quality of the resolution of whatever Google Maps has. Is that correct?
That is not correct. The quality, the Google Maps is just what we overlay across. The resolution, so let's say in the U.S. anyway, and just so everybody knows, we just got a whole bunch of questions pop up here. In the U.S., we go all the way down to 1/9 arc-second data in certain areas, but the general census is 1/3 arc-second data across the U.S. and usually 1 arc-second data across Canada and many other places around the world. The Google Map resolution is not necessarily that. We actually generate the coverage based on the actual, in the U.S., it is the U.S. Geological Survey data. So it's not SRTM data or anything like that. It's actual survey geological data. And that goes down to roughly an average in the U.S. 1/3 arc-second, which is 30 feet by 30 feet squares.
Right, but what you're talking about is the accuracy of the location of whatever input, for instance, the tower, the antenna, the CPE, etc. I'm referring to the visual overlay, where if you want to, let's say, compare the site that you're looking at, but you want to be able to see like silos and buildings and hills and all that. So you kind of look at it either in Google Earth or if we use your website, it seems to be the same overlay. The problem is, and I'm saying this specifically in our area, is that the resolution is so bad in terms of, like, some areas are very good and you can literally see a swimming pool, and in other areas you can barely see that there's even a town there. So my question here is there any way that you guys or anybody else has influence over the quality of that resolution as it comes from the overlay that you're using from Google?
Gotcha. The answer is no. That overlay is provided by Google at this point in time. There have been some talks about also incorporating some other sources, such as Bing, things like that. But as of yet, right now, if you went to Google Maps and you looked in your area to see what the quality of the image would be, that's what you would get. It'd be the same. It would be the same thing with our system.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, that was a good question. Good question. All right, let's see here. We do have a whole bunch of questions here. We got them all popped up, and give me a minute here. I think Jim's trying to get through them as well, getting answers. What is 2-rays? 2-rays. So if I'm gonna go back here to a new coverage here, and we have the option for 2-rays. What this does, this uses both the constructive and deconstructive interference on your Fresnel zone. The example is that if you are in what we call a constructive Fresnel zone, so you have Fresnel zone encroachment, but you are inside the constructive Fresnel zone, typically that doesn't really affect your 2.4 or 5 gigahertz signals too terribly much. But there is also the ability to take advantage of what we call reflected signal paths, so think of it as multipath. When we get into most wireless ISP systems, we don't take advantage of multipath. Matter of fact, we try to avoid it if at all possible. So typically, if you use 2-rays, if you turn that feature on, what you're going to do is we're going to include any type of reflections that we may get in the coverage map or in the link path to show that we may or may not have signal. In most WISP cases, our gear cannot take advantage of those reflected signals, such as a cellular or low band frequencies, things like that. Therefore, 90% of the time, as far as WISPs go, you would not use or not need to use 2-ways. Again, mostly for other systems that really take advantage of that. The next question is about our antenna tilt. Our antenna tilt, by default, is going to be either a positive or negative number. If you need negative down tilt, in other words, down tilt is entered as a negative number. A positive number is up tilt. Let's see here. What else we have? Some questions are over the multiple color issue. One of the issues that we have with the NTIA mapping program is that they have to have very specific colors for them to use the system. And one of the reasons why we have limited to 2 colors for right now anyway is because we want to ensure that we are NTIA compliant, that we can get those images and those coverages up to the NTIA. Another question is, could we get household counts instead of population? We can check into that. As of right now, it's not there right now. I believe it's just census data. If that information is available, though, we will see what we can get done. Another question is, what message does a potential customer get after entering his message into the website? So again, I'll go in here and put this information here in, and I submit this. The customer will get a view here that shows them where to place the pin, and then they click the pin is at my service. As far as our service, as far as TowerCoverage.com, once we've delivered to the customer to this page showing that they are in the green coverage area, we do not deliver anything to the customer. It is not our customer to deliver information to. What we do is create that EUS form, that end user submission form, and that end user submission form goes to you for you to review and contact your customer as needed. So the answer is the customer would only get this image here, and that is it. They would not get any other email or anything from us per se. Let's see here. Questions, is there a way to create a multi-map for internal use which differentiates between current coverage and coming coverage? I think we kind of covered on that. What you would typically do is you just create two multi-coverage maps. One map would be the one that your customers would see, and one would be the one that your internal people see, or the upcoming coverages. It's up to you if you wish to include the current coverage on that upcoming coverage or not in that particular case. We have asked, several people have asked about downloading of the collected data into some type of spreadsheet. That is on our roadmap. It just has not been completed yet. There's a good suggestion there to be able to edit more of the collected data. We talked about California earlier. So one of the questions that we do get here, and I'm just going to paraphrase this, is the cost of the service. We have a number of different packages, and if you go to TowerCoverage.com, there is a pricing guide right down at the bottom. And we have tried to make our pricing very, especially as a small WISP, very, very, very inexpensive. So the base package, which is what we call Tier 1, which comes with every feature we covered today. Once you go from the free package to the Tier 1 package or anything else, a premium account, you will get the abilities to create your coverage maps, all of our bands, as many sites as you need, the instant link path analysis, the website integration, the overlays, all that information, all that comes in all at the same time. In other words, it's you get it all. There's no add-on fees or anything like that. The base package is $25 a month. That gives you 25 coverage maps. You can regenerate those maps as many times as you want, as often as you want. It's just the storage of those maps is how we price those. Our unlimited package goes up to $199 a month. That's unlimited maps, unlimited usages, etc. And we also have yearly pricing options if you wish to do so. We feel that this is a very low-cost service, because a lot of WISPs, you may have 2 or 3 towers. You want to get that information. You want to have the feature set, but you don't want to have a huge bill by any means. So depending on how many coverage maps you need to store will depend on your pricing structure. Let's see here. We talked about Google Maps resolution. The question is, if they are not in the coverage area, do they see the response by the color? The only thing that they're going to see is the map that we showed you a minute ago. So this map here, and if I'm just going to scroll way out of our coverage area, or well, maybe that's not it. So let's say their pin was way down here. They're going to get a map with no color on it, something like this. We are always open to options and suggestions on what we should display or what we shouldn't. So if there is something else in there. As of right now, we're just simply giving them the map with the coverage area at this point in time.
Dennis, it's Winters Broadband.
Yes, sir.
Couldn't one put some sort of key on the map then to just explain to the customer what the 2 colors mean?
That very well could be a possibility. Again, we're always open to suggestions. It's a constantly evolving system. We're always adding features, so my recommendation is, if you have that good suggestion, we're going to write all these questions down. We're going to write all the suggestions down, because guess what? That's what we we would want. And if it's just a text, a form of text, a piece of text, we could probably do something very, very quickly. So definitely lots of options there, and we could definitely do that. Let's see what else we have here. Any other questions? So we have another feature we call the EUS API. What this is in your My Account section, and what this this gives us the ability to take the end user submission. So those end user submissions, those are the ones that when they go to this page and they submit that data. Right now what occurs is we generate an email, we send it to you. What we have is we have a published API that if you go in here and you put in other, or if you use one of the participating vendors, either Visp or PowerCode at this point in time, you will be able to come in here, specify a key, a push URL, and a username and password. And what will happen is we will, our servers will automatically take the EUS information, all the forms, all the images, all that kind of stuff, and push them to this push URL automatically. So the example I'm just going to use with Visp is what would occur is you would put in a key that Visp would give you, and then a username and password. And what would occur is in Visp you would magically get this new potential customer on your dashboard. At least that's the goal. I will note that I have not had I have not had them tell me that they have everything set up for that as of yet. I know they're testing it. I am not going to sit there and tell you that I know that Visp is getting that push data yet or not. As the same thing with PowerCode. However, excuse me. However, the option is for other here, so that if you have some other type of system, as long as it's a public URL that we can push data to, we will connect to it and push that data to you, because guess what? That's what you need. I mean, that goes into your CRM system. That's the kind of ideal. The email the EUS email goes to the My Account, the email that's underneath the My Account page. That is currently where it is. The performance over the water, as far as that goes, when we look in, let's just use 5 gigahertz as an example. Under typical circumstances, if you are shooting 5 gigahertz over water at sufficient height that there's no Fresnel zone issue, you typically do not see major performance impacts due to reflections. However, if you're close enough, you may. And usually what we would do in that case is turn on your 2 rays, and that would show that information. However, that would be because we're getting reflections or we're getting multipath, and most of our 5 gigahertz stuff does not handle multipath very well, so it's really not going to be good for those particular systems. What it will show you, though, is where your Fresnel zone is, so how high do you need to be off the water on each end to prevent you from getting into that issue. So that might be a good answer on any type of water performance variables. As far as TV white space, can we break up the TV white space bands for anything below 500 megahertz and then maybe 500 to 700 megahertz? I'm pretty sure that frequency is in like the 520 band. I think it's the exact frequency that we calculate on, but that's definitely not a problem. We can take a look at that and see about getting that done. Again, if you have questions, type it in that questions pane. Now that we got it working here. Thanks, Alex, for getting that to work. What else we got here? The questions. This question is more along the lines of our feature set. We have constant development on the system. So the question is really what has been changed, what has been added, etc. What's coming up, things like that. Unfortunately, with the what's coming up portion, it's sometimes difficult because we may run into an issue with a feature, or we may run into something that is unexpected, and that's just the way development works. We do have a change log down here. By no means is it a complete system, a complete change log. We would like to, we're trying to make and get on this more so that you can find out what all the change the changes are. Some of the changes are so small that it's kind of hard to fit them all in. As far as product roadmap, we are going to be trying to work with the NTIA and the FCC directly in the upcoming months to get that directly in. That way, it doesn't matter which state you're in; it's all going to work. So that is going to be coming. That is a feature that we want to add. We also have several other good suggestions, downloading of the web data. We also are looking at allowing you to upload a KMZ or KML file with maybe your link paths or something like that so that you can overlay it on top of your coverage. That is also coming up, but none of this has been started yet. Lots of great ideals actually floating around here, but nothing. We have not. Nothing's really done yet to really announce. Your best bet is to watch our Facebook page, the TowerCoverage.com Facebook page. We usually post new features there, or the link text one, as well as the changelog would also be helpful. Any of those should help you out in getting what's going on and what's coming up. So I hope that that answers that question. Is there any possibility to add text to the result map string? It would definitely be a good thing to be able to do that. So that's definitely a feature that we would probably put on our roadmap. I don't have an ETA because I just thought about it, or we just learned about thought options on that. So it's definitely something that can be done. It's just a matter of us getting it done. So hopefully we can get that done pretty quickly for you. A good question, will you be importing TV whitespace database data from any of the database providers? So there's not only is there GPS authenticating on the radios, but also a visual on your site. Good question. We've kind of thought about it, but we have not made any plans as of yet to do that. I'm not saying that it's not possible by any means. Everything's possible. It's just a matter of doing that on a regular basis or getting that information. So, good thought though. What we'll have to do is we always take ideals. We meet all the time and try to come up with these ideals and take any ideals that our customers have and bring those into the system as quickly as we can. One of the last features I kind of want to look at here is we also have this checkbox that says make this map publicly viewable. What this does is this allows us to publicize that coverage map on our, and if you're in North America anyway, our North American wireless map. If you wish to share that on a public, from a public perspective, in other words, share your map that's not on your site, you have the ability in here to go ahead and share that, and as this loads up, you'll see that we have quite a few customers that shared maps, and inside here we have the ability that customers can come click here and say, hey, here's us, here's how to contact us, here's our phone number, etc., so that possible or potential fixed wireless subscribers, if they're looking for coverages, hopefully they can find it. So one of the other questions is having some issues, trouble getting the ground cover adjustments to be correct. Normally, the land cover data there is usually, I'm going to say fairly accurate. I'm not going to sit there and say it's accurate in all situations, because every part of the country is different. So the evergreen broadleaf forest, your height may vary. Usually the numbers that we default to is usually pretty decent. I'm not going to sit there and say it's perfect. If you don't like going through needle leaf forest, then we usually crank up the density on that. If in your area the broadleaf forest classification really should be a higher level, then obviously you'll need to make those changes. All we can do is sit there and we have the land cover options there, and that's why we put the details in here so that hopefully you can find your happy median on all of those types of systems. Normally, though, whenever we're looking at a link path to and from a location that doesn't go through trees, normally you shouldn't have to, I mean, these shouldn't be even a variable unless you're shooting really, really close to the ground, and you have lots of ground clutter anyway. Alrighty. Well, I think we're getting all the questions answered. Jim, if we'll definitely get a copy of these, and if we can answer any other questions, go ahead and type those in. We'll make it the last call for questions. Anybody else have any other questions? Again, this was just the last call. Obviously, if you have any questions, shoot us an email, support@TowerCoverage.com. We like to get those questions. If you have feature suggestions, please shoot them over to us, because, again, if we don't know about a feature, maybe we haven't thought of that yet. It's always good information to get. And then we also try to prioritize our development cycle around the number of requests. So if we get 10 people or 20 people or 50 people that request a specific feature, then obviously we're going to deploy that quicker than some other feature that only maybe 1 or 2 people have had. We want to try to make everybody in here. As far as the webinar, we are recording this, so if you do have any questions, we are going to see if we can make this available again. Watch our Facebook page or the WISPA list. We may see about getting that listed up on YouTube or something like that for review later on. So with that said, I have no more questions. I think we've answered everything. I hope we have. But again, if you have any questions, support@linktext.net or support@TowerCoverage.com. Take your pick. They'll get to us, and we'll get from there. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've learned a lot. I hope you learned a lot about the feature set that we have and the abilities that you have inside your TowerCoverage.com account. Feel free to create a free account. Again, you can go to TowerCoverage.com, click on create a free account, and hopefully we'll get you a promo code up on our Facebook page here shortly as well for any of you that need to or wish to evaluate the product. Also, I want to toss this out there is that we do not have any type of contractual requirements. So the example is that if you want to go ahead and try it out, the base package is $25. You can go ahead and sign up an account, and if you have a problem or if you don't like it, obviously there's no contract. So we want you to feel that it's a worthwhile product for the price. So go ahead, try it out, and if you have any questions, feel free to send it over to us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time, and if you have those questions, send them on in. Alex, thanks a lot as well.